Hi everybody. This is day 1554. Let me get my phone. Okay. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to do the best I can today. This is 1554 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. We have been right. We have been right. We have been right. Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. It was internal, it was a code red. Um, his leadership gave an order and he was murdered. And this is serious, right? This is very serious. And it is in connection to the Walmart mass shooting, and also Fort Bliss being compromised by the cartel. Very serious. So anybody that says I shouldn't pay attention to what's going on in El Paso when it comes to the arrests of cartel members and what's going on in the Walmart mass shooting, after we have spent 4 years working nonstop behind the scenes, submitting, filing reports after reports, hundreds of reports, y'all, hundreds of reports, um, filing and filing and filing. Um, you know, there is no place to go except for forward. Our names are all over El Paso judicial system, all over the law enforcement system. We have filed regarding the Texas Rangers and the El Paso Police and the court, the MAG court, uh, lawyers, judges, the DA, of course, the DA's office, the fake DA, the fake criminal medical examiner, um, chief medical examiner, sorry, it's CME, right? It's not criminal medical examiner, it's chief medical examiner. Sorry about that. Um, and the imposters that absolutely are have contaminated the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, uh, botching all the cases because those individuals are appointed. They cannot be appointed. They have to be elected. And we, have been calling this out, just like knowing that our son had been murdered, just like we've been calling out that um, Patrick Crucius has autism, and we were made fun of. We were, received retaliation and threats and intimidation. And just like we have said that 44 four-star generals are up to no good. Um, let's see, I make sure that everything is working before I go on, because this is such an you know extraordinary case. Our son's case is could possibly be the largest case in U.S. Army history. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because of what the the leadership and the CID have brought us to. They're the ones that told us that they could not do anything for our son's case unless we investigated, unless we brought them leads. And here we are. They have pushed us into this place where all of this is being revealed and exposed, and being one of the largest, if not the largest, maybe next to JFK's assassination, um, cases in U.S. Army history. It is that big. It's international. It involves tampering uh, with material, a very important picture to give to Interpol. It involves lots of intimidation, lots of tampering internationally. It it involves the compromise of key leadership positions in law enforcement and also in the judiciary. And when we received the declaration of death, and this was brought to my attention, um, you know, where was the president? Where was Congress bringing us into their offices, wanting to make a difference and preventing other families from going through this? Where were they? Okay, because this case is so big, it absolutely numbed the system. It has numbed the system. And now, for a long time, and now um, we are getting extraordinary support because we are right. We have been right. And um, so we have breaking news, Austin, breaking news from Austin, Texas, that is saying that Patrick Crusius may have not worked alone, that may have not been the lone shooter. And we have been saying this for a long time. And this is important because Richard's case is intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting case, and they have tried to pin it on a lone shooter, Patrick Crusius. They have tried to make this about race. Patrick Crusius, even in court, denied that. Patrick Crusius acts deny that to the extent that it really needs to be addressed in the trial, the motive behind. Um, saying I'm saying our evidence shows that the motive is different from what the public was fed. That's what I'm saying. And we need a trial to know why this happened and who did it and who did it. Because obviously, Patrick Crusius did not do this by himself. Okay, obviously. And we're talking about 23 individuals that are victims that have been shot dead and 23 more that were injured. Okay? And have been waiting over 5 years to know what happened, to know the truth, to move forward. And during this time, Judge Medrano keeps approving the funding, millions and millions of dollars from the state and federal funding. This is not from Patrick Crusius's funds or from his family, even though he's from a very wealthy family. He's from a wealthy family. And there's a lot of discrepancies because Patrick Crusius was living in a very ritzy apartment in San Antonio. We're told that he was living in Allen, Texas. That's not the case. If you look, the media it got that wrong. They need to go and check their sources. And how do you live in an apartment that's ritzy, expensive in a very nice area in San Antonio? And why would you want to drive, that distance from San Antonio? It's, Texas is big. Texas is very big. Everything's big in Texas. Why would you want to drive so far to El Paso if you had racist intentions? Has anybody ever looked in San Antonio? I know San Antonio is one of my favorite places. I love the Riverwalk. I love a lot of great memories in San Antonio and the Riverwalk. So no, it's absolutely, um, there are a lot of questions outstanding, and they need to be answered. And we believe that in those answers, it leads to Richard Halliday, and it would lead to his remains. um, what happened to his remains. Uh, and that's why this is so important to us. And today was a hearing, and I'm going to try to do my best to highlight some of the things that happened during this hearing. Um, you know, Fascinating, right? Fascinating. There is absolutely a botched case here. There is a judicial officer that I think is abusing his power. When he talked to Christina Sanchez, the county attorney, and told her to run far, far away from this case, he would recommend that. I think to me, that means that maybe if she didn't, there would be retaliation or retribution against her. Um, so, that was a really big deal. There's so many big deals here, okay? Um, because Judge Madrano absolutely should have recused himself. I think even Sammy C. Mentioned that he should recuse himself today too. I think so. And in that, should he recuse himself? Absolutely. Why is he still on this case, right? And that's because of the legitimacy that's going to these accusations, and we believe they're very, very, very strong accusations. And we're going to tell you right now, we're right again. We're right again. But these accusations um, uh, claim that Joe Spencer, the defense attorney for Patrick Crusius, who's just a rotten defense attorney, if there was ever with him as your defense attorney, who needs an enemy? Who needs a prosecutor, right? I mean, let me just, in the federal case, not mention that my client has autism. Let me mention that there possibly is more than one shooter. Let me mention the mental health condition. Let me not mention that. Let me not mention that. Um, Let me not make the case for my client. Let's bring him into the court with jail clothing on and handcuffs and time before ankle chains. We'll bring him in ankle chains. And that destroys a presumption of innocence of my client. Yoo-hoo! I mean, he's a rotten defense attorney. Absolutely the rottenness, and it makes you wonder who he really is working for, right? Because we know there is a lot of compromises going on that we have exposed. So, um, but the allegations are that Joe Spencer, with Judge Madrano, made a backroom deal to not allow the Walmart mass shooting case to move forward to trial, to move forward at all. Um, uh, when did that happen, right? Um, and we believe in 2020. Okay, we believe that happened in 2020. Now, the other thing that came out of this that was very new information from the trial today, thank you, Anicia, for coming on, is is that there seems to have been a mental health evaluation. Now, that seems to have taken place in 2023. Okay, that would fall under District Attorney Bill Hicks. That would fall under Loretta Lynn Hewitt. And we know that Loretta Lynn Hewitt was hired to do a job, do a good job, that is her profession, and that she resigned in protest because they were not allowing her to move the case forward, that this was all political, that they were going to use that case politically. And she resigned in protest. And if you haven't read that article, it's really fascinating. So Loretta Lynn Hewitt seems, I don't know, but I'm just putting together the timeline. It kind of corresponds that there was a mental health evaluation done on Patrick Crusius at that time. Now, could Loretta Lynn Hewitt do that? Could the jail do that? Right? Could the jail? And the answer that we found, and please correct me where I'm wrong, is that absolutely that they don't need, that it's not only the defense that can request a mental health evaluation, that the jail, having to deal with this individual can also request a mental health evaluation, especially when they know that he has autism, a severe mental health condition, to get what they need, what kind of protection they need, what kind of cell, whatever, how to handle this person awaiting trial, right? This defendant, I should say, this defendant waiting trial. So absolutely, it could be the jailer, it could be Loretta Lynn Hewitt, that asked for the experts to come in and conduct a mental health evaluation. Now, what's really shocking about that is that it seems that Joe Spencer is not happy about that, that he does not want, and those backroom deals were sealed, right? And so Joe Spencer, with the mental health evaluation that was conducted, seems to have been conducted. He wants that also sealed, I guess, or kept from the public, the results of that mental health evaluation. He is saying that somebody is, having access to his client. And, so, that is absolutely um, fascinating. I don't know how to respond to that because if you are a defense attorney and your client has a mental health condition, you want the public to know that. You want them to know the motive behind what they did because a lot of times the motive when you're, have these mental health conditions like autism, you might not understand people real well. You might give the false impression to people. You might respond differently to people physically, And so, it's very, very important to know the mental health evaluation for Patrick Crusius. And we know that he has autism, right? We know that. So, why doesn't his defense attorney? Why is his defense attorney trying to block the public, is blocking the public from that information, especially since the public is paying millions of dollars to him? It's the state and federal funds that are paying Joe Spencer's wages. And that's also something that is really odd because Patrick Crusius comes from, a well to do family. And, I would like to know how did they get special funding to pay millions of dollars from the taxpayers, state and federal, to Joe Spencer and the prosecution, right? But I think the whole defense team, and you have like 14 different attorneys on this. I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars, okay? So, and then it's not moving forward, and they are doing everything they can to sabotage moving it forward, making, these allegations of backroom deals to stop it from moving forward, to um, he admitted, Joe Spencer, in his own words, it's kind of like this Leilani Hart notarized affidavit moment, a confession moment. He admitted that that he was didn't want um, that mental health evaluation to be made public, you know? Um, so also, the judge admitted, self confessed to, I'm trying to remember all of it. So, as best as I can, uh, admitted also to making these ex parte communications, which, is that the backroom deal, right? But he made ex parte communications with Joe Spencer. He admitted it. He admitted it today. And that's a confession. That is, he needs to recuse himself, right? He needs to recuse. But he was like, oh, but I went back and I fixed it. I fixed it. I went, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Like, okay, I can rob someone or I can do this, and then I just say, oh, yeah, I went back and I fixed it. No, you still violated the law. And so that was, if that's not just jaw dropping information, and I'm going to read from some of my notes. I already said that Austin confirmed that it appears that Patrick Crusius was not working alone. Um, Absolutely, we think we're right again about these allegations of Joe Spencer and Judge Madrano making backroom deals not to let the case go forward. Um, this is absolutely an attack on justice, on the justice system. It really is what Joe Spencer has done. And in collusion, in connection with Leilani Hart. And I'm going to put all those pieces together for everyone to understand. Also, the other thing that happened that caught our attention is that Judge Madrano um, denied the action from the defense, the district attorney's office. What was his name? Yeah, I have Mark Stevens. It looked like he fell asleep. Um, there was another lawyer, and I saw his picture with Yvonne Rosales. He was part of Yvonne Rosales's removal and replacement thing. Let me get his name, because I think that is John Davis. So Attorney John Davis tried today to put in a proper of evidence. I had to look that up. A proper of evidence. It's like things that already happened, and if I know from our complaints and our filings that an appeals court can only look at the case. And so anything that had happened before, they don't know about. They can only look at the case. So the proper of evidence is submitted to give some history to the case. And um, and I believe I'm getting a law degree out of this whole thing. So John Davis attempted to put in a proper of evidence, some historical uh, backdrop to this case, and Judge Madrano denied him. Now, I think that is absolutely he's unfit to serve on this case. Absolutely. It just shows that he's so biased. Absolutely, totally biased in this case. Um, and why doesn't he recuse himself? You know, uh, why doesn't he? He could absolutely recuse himself and let this case be tried in San Antonio, right? San Antonio, Loretta Lynn Hewitt's down there. Um, and he could just wash his hands of this case, but he's not doing that. And that's because what is he trying to cover up? What is he fearing that will be exposed in the evidence of a trial of the Walmart mass shooting case, right? Um, and so he is working very hard to obstruct justice in this case, to hide the need to uh, put this to trial. Um, these back room deals, um, it just seems there is a lot of obstruction going on, and as time goes on, and I, um, sit down with Team Find Richard Halliday and look through this case even more, this hearing even more, I'm sure we'll find more things that pop up out to us. And it's very, very important because this case will lead to finding Richard's remains. I believe that. Absolutely. And that's because the same people from Bliss Avenue, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, of course, Felix Valenzuela, another defense attorney, not the one that fell asleep. That was Mark, I believe his name is Mark Stevens. It seems like Mark Stevens fell asleep, and maybe he was praying. Maybe he was praying. He needs to be praying for mercy for what they have done in this case. Um, I want to make sure. Yes, of course, it involves Richard Halliday's whistleblower complaints that um, this whole case. Um, the evidence does not add up. No, not at all. The narrative doesn't add up. And I think it would fail. The narrative would fail the trial. That's in my notes here. Um, there is evidence looking at this hearing for me, in my opinion, that there is a fear of going to trial and exposing the evidence because they are afraid of the narrative failing in a trial. So, yeah, Joe Spencer blocked the mental health professional evaluation. He blocked that at the beginning, right? He blocked that. Why? And then now, when they did send someone in, um, he he tried to, is blocking the results of the mental health evaluation. So, and I think Judge Madrano granted that, and I think that that is absolutely indication that he's derelict in his duty. He cannot serve on this case, and he's actively preventing um, this case from being exposed, the truth being exposed to the public. Absolutely. Um, what else was here? There just tons of stuff, and it does your head in to watch all of this stuff. But I think that's really what I wanted to uh, relay tonight. Lots going on behind the scenes. And I think all of this that is going on is a result from our hard work. Part of it is, anyway, part of it. And we continue to ask you to share this information and to pray for us. And we love you. And we are just very grateful for you coming on all the time. So long, over 4 years. And just think about the victims from the Walmart mass shooting case, over 5 years. And, yes, people were so hurt. And it was more than just the 23 and the 23 injured, it was the entire community. And think about all the millions of dollars. And I know that you can't compare that to the cost of life. I absolutely understand that. But this domino effect of destruction, of hurting people, because the judicial system has no integrity there and is botched. And we have this beautiful judiciary. It's just that it has been compromised. And so, it needs to be cleaned up. It's a perfectly fine judiciary. It needs to be cleaned up. And part of that would be that Sam Madrano, who is, I've been told, is the most corrupt judge in El Paso history. Um, yeah, they need to address him because he's absolutely not acting in the best interest of the people of El Paso, the victims, and also um, the economics of El Paso because he's the one that approves all of this money. So it's pretty never giving up on justice for Richard Halliday. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're never giving up either, and we're never giving up on El Paso. El Paso is a very, very special place. That's where the battle is. The battle is in El Paso because it's a very special place, okay? And it has, a lot of things going on there that, my dad would tell me about because he worked there on White Sands Missile Range back there in the 1960s, where it all began. And so, yeah, our hearts are, of course, in getting Richard's remains and getting accountability for those that premeditatedly code red murdered him, and then the cover up, and also for the compromise of the system there in El Paso and beautiful El Paso to make the people suffer so much so that they felt emboldened to orchestrate a Walmart mass shooting. But Austin, Texas, breaking news, has come out and said it seems to be those. Well, I'm going to add this. Okay, they didn't say this, but I'm going to add this. It seems to be that Team Find Richard Halliday is right. Is right. It seems to be that Patrick Crusius did not act on his own. Okay? So thank you. That is coming out of Austin. That seems to be Patrick Crusius was not a lone shooter. He did not work alone. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.